Chapter 3, How to Build Better Habits in 4 Simple Steps. In 1898, a psychologist named Edward Thorndike conducted an experiment that would lay the foundation of our understanding of how habits form and rules that guide our behavior. Thorndike was interested in studying the behavior of animals, and he started by working with cats. He would place each cat inside a device known as puzzle box. The box was designed so that cat would escape through a door by simple if act such as pulling at the loop of cord, pressing a lever, or stepping on the platform. For example, one box contained a lever that, when pressed, would upon open a door on the side of the box. Once the door had been opened, the cat could dart and out and run over the bowl of food. Most cats wanted to escape as soon as they were placed inside the box. They would poke their nose into the corners, stick their paws through the openings, and claw at loose objects. After a few minutes of exploration, the cats would happen to press a magical lever, the door would open, and they would escape. Thorndike tracked the behavior of each cat across many trials. In the beginning, the animals moved around a box at random, but as soon as the lever has been pressed and at the door opened, the process of learning began. Gradually, each cat learned to associate the action of pressing the lever with the reward of escaping the box and getting to the food. After 20 to 30 trials, this behavior became so automatic and habitual that the cat could escape within few seconds. For example, Thorndike noted that cat 12 the following times to perform the act: 160 seconds, 30 seconds, 90 seconds, 60, 150, 28, 20, 30, 22, 11, 15, 20, 12, 10, 14, 10, 8, 8, 5, 10, 8, 6, 6, 7. During the first three trials, the cat escaped in an average of 1.5 minutes. During the last three trials, it escaped an average of 6.3 seconds. With the practice, each cat made few errors and their actions became quicker and more automatic. Rather than repeat the same mistake, the cat began to cut straight to the solution. From his studies, Thorndike described the learning process by stating behaviors followed by satisfying consequences tend to be repeated, and those that practice and produce unpleasant consequences are less likely to be repeated. His work provides the perfect starting point for discussing how habits form in our own lives. It also provides the answer to some fundamental questions like what are habits and why does the brain bother building them at all. Why our brain builds habits. A habit is a behavior that has been repeated enough times to become automatic. The process of habit formation begins with the trial and error. Whenever you encounter a new situation in life, your brain has to make a decision: how do I respond to this? The first time you come across a problem, you are not sure how to solve it. Like Thorndike's cat, you are just trying things to see how what works. Neurological activity in the brain is high during this period. You are carefully analyzing the situation and making conscious decisions about how to act. You are acting in terms of new information and trying to make sense of it all. The brain is busy learning the most effective course of action. Occasionally, like a cat pressing on a lever, you stumble across the solution. You are feeling anxious and you discover that going for a run calms you. You are mentally exhausted for a long day of work and you were learned that playing video games relaxes you. You are exploring, and then BAM reward. After you stumble upon an unexpected reward, you alter your state energy for next time. Your brain immediately begins to catalog the events that preceded the reward. Wait a minute, that felt good. What did I do right before that? This is the feedback loop behind all human behavior. Try, fail, learn, try differently. With practice, the useless moments fade away and the little useful actions get reinforced. That's the habit forming. When you face problem repeatedly, your brain begins to automate the process of solving it. Your habits are just a series of automatic solutions that solve the problems and stresses you face regularly. As behavioral scientist Jesus Herrahas writes, habits are simply reliable solution to recurring problems in our environment. As habits are created, the level of activity in brain decreases. You learn to lock in on the cues and that predicts success and tune out everything else. When similar situation arises in future, you know what to look for. There is no longer a need to analyze every angle of situation. Your brain skips the process of trial and error and creates mental rule. If this, then that, these cognitive scripts can be followed automatically whenever the situation is appropriate. Whenever you feel stressed, you care to itch them to turn. to run. As soon as you walk in the door from work, you grab your video game controller. A choice that once required effort is now automatic. A habit has been created. Habits are mental shortcuts learned from experience. In a sense, a habit is just a memory of the steps you previously followed to solve problem in the past. Whenever the conditions are right, you can draw on this memory and automatically apply the same solution. The primary reason that brain remembers the past is to better predict that what will predict work in future. Habit formation is incredibly useful because the conscious mind is the bottleneck of the brain. It can only pay attention to one problem at a time. As a result, your brain is always working to preserve your consciousness attention for whatever task is most essential. Whenever the possible consciousness mind likes the pawn off task to the non-conscious mind to do automatically. This is precisely what happens when a habit is formed. Habits reduce cognitive load and free up mental capacity, so you can allocate your attention to other tasks. Despite their efficiency, some people still wonder about the benefits of habits. The argument goes like this: will habits make my life dull? I don't want to pigeonhole myself into a lifestyle I don't enjoy. Don't does not so much routine take away the vibrancy and spontaneity of life? Hardly. Such questions set up a false dichotomy. They make you think that you have to choose between building habits and attaining freedom. In reality, to complement each other. Habits do not restrict freedom, they create it. In fact, the people who don't have their habits handled are often the ones with least moment amount of freedom. Without good financial habits, you will always be struggling for the next dollar. Without good health habits, you will always seem to be short of energy. Without good learning habits, you will always feel like you are behind the curve. If you are always being forced to make decision about simple tasks, when should I work out, where do I go to write, where do I pay the bills, then you have less time for freedom. It's only by making the fundamentals of life easier than you can create mental peace space needed for free thinking and creativity. Conversely, when you have habits, you had your diet, your habits tired and the basics and life are handled and done. Your mind is free to focus on new challenges and master the next set of problems. Building habits in the present allows you to do more of what you want in the future. The science of how habits work. The process of building a habit can be divided into four simple steps: cue, caving, response, and reward. Breaking it down into these fundamental parts can help us understand what a habit is and how it works and how it to improve it. This four-step pattern is the backbone of every habit, and your brain runs through these steps in the same order in each time. First time there is a cue, and the cue triggers your brain to initiate a behavior. It is a bit of information that predicts a reward. Our prehistoric ancestors were paying attention to cues that signal to the location of primary rewards like food, water, and sex. Today, we spend most of our time to learning cues that predict secondary rewards like money, fame, and power and status, praise and approval, love and friendship, or a sense of personal satisfaction. Of course, these pursuits are also indirectly improve our odds of survival and reproduction, which is the deeper motive behind everything we do. Your mind is continuously analyzing your internal and external environment for hints of where rewards are located. Because the cue is the first indication that we are close to reward, it naturally leads to craving. Cravings are the second step that are emotionally motivational force behind every habit. Without some level of motivation or desire, without craving a change, we have no reason to act. What you crave is not the habit itself, but the change in its state delivers. You do not crave smoking or a cigarette, you crave the feeling of relief it provides. You are not motivated by brushing your teeth, but rather by feeling a clean mouth. You do not want to turn on the television, you want it to be entertained. Every craving is linked to a desire that change your internal state. This is an important point that we will discuss in detail later. Craving differ from person to person. In theory, any piece of information could trigger a craving, but in practice, people are not motivated by the same cues. For a gambler, the sound of slot machines to be the potent trigger that sparks an intense wave of desire. For someone who rarely gambles, the jingles and the chimes of casino are just background noise. Cues are meaningless until they are interpreted. The thoughts, the feelings, and the emotions of the observer are what transform a cue into craving. The third step in the response. The response is the actual habit you perform, which you take to the perform a great thought or an action. Whether a response occurs depends on how motivated you are and how much friction is associated with the behavior. If a particular action requires more physical or mental effort than you are willing to expend, then you would not do it. Your response also depends on your ability. It sounds simple, but a habit can occur only if you are capable of doing it. If you want to dunk a basketball but can't jump high enough to reach the hoop, well, you are out of luck. Finally, the response delivers a reward. Rewards are the end of the goal of every habit. The cue is about noticing the reward. The craving is about wanting the reward. The response is about obtaining the reward. The craving is about wanting the reward. The response is about obtaining the reward. We chase rewards because they serve two purposes. They satisfy us, they teach us. The first purpose of rewards is to satisfy your cravings. Yes, rewards provide benefits on their own. Food and water deliver the energy you need to survive. Getting promotion brings more money and respect. Getting in shape improves your health, your dating prospects. But the more immediate benefit is that rewards satisfy our craving to eat or gain status or to win approval. At least for a moment, rewards deliver contentment and relief from craving. Second, reward teaches in which actions are worth remembering in future. Your brain is a reward detector. As you go about your life, your sensory nervous system is continuously monitoring which actions satisfy your desires and deliver pleasure. Feeling of pleasure and disappointment are part of the feedback mechanism that helps your brain to distinguish useful actions from useless ones. Rewards close feedback loop and complete this habit cycle. If a behavior is insufficient in any of the four stages, it will become a habit. Eliminate the cue and your habit will never start. Reduce the craving, you won't experience enough through motivation to act. Make the behavior difficult and you won't be able to do it. And if the reward fails to satisfy your desire, then you will have no reason to do it again in the future. Without the first three steps, a behavior will not occur. With all four, a behavior will not be repeated. In summary, the cue triggers craving, which motivates a response, which provides a reward, which satisfies the craving, and ultimately becomes associated with the cue. Together, these four steps forms a neurological feedback loop: cue, craving, response, reward. Cue, craving, response, reward that ultimately allows you to create atomic habits. This cycle is known as the habit loop. The fourth step is not something that happens occasionally, but rather it is an endless feedback loop that is running and active during every moment you are alive. And even now, the brain is continually scanning every environment, predicting what will happen next, trying out different responses, and learning from the result. The entire process is completed in a split second, and we use it again and again out without realizing everything that has been packed into the previous moment. We can split into four steps, into two phases: the problem phase and the solution phase. The problem phase includes the cue and the craving, and it is when you realize that something needs to be changed. The solution phase includes the response and the reward. It is when you take action and achieve the change you desire. All the behavior is driven by desire to solve the problem. Sometimes the problem is that you notice something good and you want to obtain it. Sometimes the problem is that you are experiencing pain and you want to relieve it. Either way, the purpose of every habit is to solve the problems you face. In the table on the following page, you can see few examples what this look like in real life. Imagine walking into a dark room and flipping on the light switch. You have performed the simple habit so many times that it occurs without thinking. You proceed through all four stages in the fraction of a second. The urge to act strikes without thinking. By the time we become adults, we rarely notice that the habits are running our most lives. Most of us never give a second thought to the fact that we tie the same shoe first in each morning, or unplug the toaster after each use, or always change it into comfortable clothes after getting home from work. After decades of mental programming, we automatically slip into these patterns of thinking and acting. Your phone buzzes with a new text message. Craving, you want to learn the contents of the message. Response, you grab your phone and read the text. Fourth, you satisfy your craving to read the message. Grabbing your phone becomes associated with your phone buzzing. Second, you are answering emails. You begin to feel stressed and overwhelmed by work. You wanted to feel control. You bite your nails. You satisfy your craving to reduce stress. Biting your nails becomes associated with answering email. Third, you wake up. You want to feel alert. You drink a cup of coffee. You satisfy your craving to feel alert. Drinking coffee becomes associated with waking up. You smell like a donut shop as you walk down the street near our office. You begin to crave a donut. You buy a donut and eat it. You satisfy craving to eat a donut. Buying a donut becomes associated with walking down on the street near your office. Q. Fifth, you hit a stumbling block on a project at work. You feel stuck and want to relieve your frustration. You pull out your phone and check social media. You satisfy your craving to feel relieved. Checking social media becomes associated with the feeling stalled at work. Sixth, you walk into a dark room. You want to be able to see. You flip the light switch. You satisfy your craving to see. Turning on the light switch becomes associated with being in a dark room. The four laws of your behavior change. In following chapters, we will see time and again how the four stages of cue, craving, response, and reward influence nearly everything we do each day. But before we do that, we need to transform these four steps into practical framework that we can use to design good habits and eliminate bad ones. I refer to this framework as four laws of behavior change, and it provides simple set of rules for creating good habits and breaking bad ones. You can think of each law as lever that influences human behavior. When the lever are in the right position, creating good habits is effortless. When they are in the wrong position, it is nearly impossible. The first law, cue, make it obvious. Second law, craving, make it attractive. The third law, response, make it easy. The fourth law, reward, make it satisfying. We can invert these laws to unlearn how to break a bad habit. Inversion of the first law, cue, make it invisible. Inversion of the second law, craving, make it unattractive. Inversion of the third law, response, make it difficult. Inversion of the fourth law, reward, make it unsatisfying. It would be irresponsible for me to claim that these four laws are an exhaustive framework for changing any human behavior, but I think they are close. As you will soon see, the four laws of behavior change apply to nearly every field from sports to politics, art to medicine, comedy to management. These laws can be used to no matter what challenge you are facing. There is no need for completely different strategies for each habit. Whenever you want to change your habit, you can simply ask yourself, how can I make it obvious? How can I make it attractive? How can I make it easy? How can I make it satisfying? If you ever wondered why don't I do what I say I'm doing going to do, why I don't lose the weight or stop smoking or save the retirement and or start the side business, why do I say something is important but never seem to make time for it? The answers to those questions can be found somewhere in those four laws. The key to creating good results, good habits, and breaking bad ones, and is to understand these fundamental laws and how to alter them in your specification. Every goal is doomed to fail if it goes against the grain of human nature. Your habits are shaped by the systems in your life. In the chapters that follow, we will discuss the laws one by one, show how you can use them to create a system in which good habits emerge naturally and bad habits wither away. Chapter summary. A habit is a behavior that has been repeated enough times to become automatic. The ultimate purpose of habit is to solve the problems of life with as little energy and effort as possible. Any habit can be broken down into feedback loop that involves four steps: cue, craving, response, and reward. The four laws of human behavior change are simple set of rules we can use to build better habits. They are: make it obvious, second make it attractive, third make it easy, fourth make it satisfying.